Let's do it, do it, do it. Mm, 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 mm. Let me get the thing. I feel like I have too much going on in my life.
I like how it actually starts recording us before I can see it. And so I'm
Yeah,
always doing something stupid like,
yeah. My hair is like doing weird like heat things.
yeah.
You know. Hey, did you still aren't really getting the heat wave, right?
No, I mean, it's hot. It is
Well,
hot
what's
and
hot
uncomfortable
though?
here, but I don't think it's quite as hot as what you've had. We've
Okay.
been in the 90s,
Mm-hmm.
like 92, 93.
No, we're high 90s. We got to 100 today.
Yeah. With the dew point, I don't know. I just haven't been, I just don't go outside. I poke my head out, get the mail, and I'm, ugh, that's enough for me.
Um, yeah,
My
it's
Father's Day was a perfect day here. And then it just bleh, hot.
yeah, it has been mightily unpleasant. And now it's for like the past couple hours, it's been the sky looks really scary, like we might thunder boom. And I'm like, please, 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 this is the one good thing about Florida, when it just gets, rainy at the end of the day and cools everything down. Because now, today, no, tomorrow is the last day of the heat wave, and then we're gonna have like 5 days of rain.
Now I think we get heat wave all weekend. So it must be like working its way down. And I don't think we have any rain on the horizon for a while. So boo, summer, boo.
Yeah, we'll go back to like normal stuff soon. Thank
Yeah.
goodness.
I think my only danger right now is my husband. A half an hour
Oh,
ago, he blew the circuits in our house. To the joy of living in an old house with questionable electricity. You
have you guys not
cannot use
updated?
it. Some parts are updated and some parts are
Mhm.
not. Our
Mhm.
dining room right in here where I am is one of the problematic regions, but we
Mhm.
can't use our air conditioner, microwave, and toaster oven all at the same time.
Oh, well, I
Because
mean, to be fair, do most people use all of those things at the same time?
well, I think if you hey Robin, I think if you live in a newer home, you probably don't have to worry about these things. But
Mhm.
the little gerbil that lives somewhere in the depths of my house that keeps the power running was overloaded. So,
Gotcha.
oh gosh, Robin, you're having a heat wave too soon. This is summer. Boo.
Yeah, it's so funny. Someone said to me one day, which it never made much sense to me until I thought about it. They were like, as children, the only reason we liked summer is because we were forced to like summer because it was the only time, we had off.
Well, yeah.
Um,
And there
and
was the pool and all kinds of stuff like that.
well, but I mean, like, we don't go to school in the summer because it's too hot and it's really expensive to air condition a school and all that jazz. But yeah, because it was like it felt wrong as you got older to like hate summer because it was like, oh, as a kid, it's like summer. And it was like, you know what, you can hate summer because you had to like summer to a certain extent because it's the only time that you got off from school for an
I
extended
did
period of
like
time.
summer as a kid. Yeah. I mean, I did like summer as a kid, but it
Well, and
was,
as a kid, it lasted for like 6 months.
it did feel nice and long.
Yeah, where like this point it's really like two.
Oh yeah, Robin, you have the same situation. Appliances have to be on different circuits. Yeah. It's
I
weird because it's like this one whole wall of our house, like I mean, it goes through to another room. But oddly, I don't think that the washing machine is on this circuit. So I don't know. It's very weird.
I haven't tried it yet, but it makes me wonder if like my sewing room will end up having problems if I'm having like a sewing machine and an iron and a
Mm,
fan or and an
yeah.
AC
Well, it
like
depends. Yeah,
going.
it depends on the BTUs. It's like how much power is it drawing off the circuit? Yeah. So
I mean,
for
our
little things,
circuit,
it's not a big deal.
our box has been updated. Like it has room for us to install those ductless mini splits
Hmm.
for AC later, and those need at least two circuits per unit. So
Mm.
I think we've got another 10 or something to spare. So Here's hoping that the last person upgraded enough for all that. Your house is only 15 years old, Robin. Steph and I like the old ladies.
Yeah, my house is older than Tallulah. My house was built before Tallulah Gilbert Bottoms was born,
What year is yours again?
1853.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an old bird. That's an old bird.
Yeah.
Mine is a classy 1880s gal, which that auction I sent you full of that historic clothing. Mm. Oh,
Yeah, I
if I
had to
was a
stop looking because I was like,
collector,
oh,
if I was a collector, it's
oh, I know.
I think we
And
need some pictures of areas of your home. Notice I
it will
said
be
areas.
it'll be dusty little nooks full of furniture that doesn't quite
Well, I
fit.
mean, it's okay if the house, like dust and old, those go together. No one has to know it's new dust. Like, you can
Okay.
tell them it's old dust.
Well, enough about my dust. Are we ready to get in here? I have a pop quiz for you.
Oh my goodness, I'm so hot.
Okay. Pop quiz. Of these things I'm holding up, which one is not a stiletto?
It was not a stiletto.
Or is a stiletto, whichever way you want to go.
Okay, those are very different questions.
So it's okay. So if you want to say this is number 1, number 2, 3, and 4. What are your thoughts on these?
Which one is not a stiletto?
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4.
I mean, I'd say probably definitely 3.
This one?
Yeah.
Not a stiletto?
Janet agrees with me. To be
Hey,
fair though,
Janet.
I said it before Janet's comment went in. Robin says 1.
Okay. Well, here's the thing. They might not, none of them might be stilettos.
You're you're the worst at this game.
I'm a tricky one. I'm a rascal. I have pictures of 3 of them. So you'll see what they are. But I will show you this one because I didn't take a picture of it. This, my friends, is a barbecue skewer.
Oh my. A barbecue skewer? Wait, which one was that? Was that 1?
I think that was 2. Oh no, what order did I have?
You're so fired from this game.
I'm so fired. I think it was this order. Yeah.
So
I
number
think
2.
that was the order.
So you're
three
literally
was
trying to
definitely
throw. Now, if the question was different and the question was, which one of these would you use as a stiletto if you needed one? My answer would be all of the above, including the barbecue skewer.
Yes, and that was kind of the point I was making is that, and I actually learned some stuff today, you guys. We have a cool historical thing that I found, and among all of the cool stuff Jill found, to talk about stilettos, because I was kind of like, stilettos, they poke holes, like. But
Janet posted hers on the Quilt Nerding Facebook group. I'm gonna grab it for you, and
okay, cool. Thank you.
I will get it to you.
And I'll let you guys know. Number 3 might be the one that is legitimately a stiletto. So we'll look at it in the picture and we'll figure out. I'm honestly not sure. It could be. I'm not sure. It could be something else for all I know.
Huh? Could it?
Yeah.
Janet's is interesting.
Oh, cool.
It's very interesting. So I guess kind of before we really get going, I felt like it was kind of important to mention, the discussion with stilettos and awls, because I almost feel like you can't really talk about stilettos without talking about awls. And we had just talked about them when we were reading Dawn's book, and I went back to look at this, and I feel like the point that she makes kind of about the difference is she says awl is a sharp pointed handheld tool used for piecing leather and textiles. If you go down to stiletto, a stiletto is a metal awl with an attached handle where the metal pointed awl rod is held in a decorative handle. So I feel like to a certain extent, if we were using that as the differentiating marker, and I know there's debate about things.
Yeah.
I feel like at this point, almost like all awls can be used as stilettos, but not all stilettos can be used as awls,
Hmm.
perhaps.
Hmm.
Um, because I also
I guess yeah, I guess I would have a couple things to add to that, but go ahead.
sure. Oh yeah, I like I said, like there's tons of debate. A lot of
Hmm.
things, I don't know if you've ever noticed, but a lot of things like if I list on my business page, I will list them like all slash stiletto
Hmm.
because at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Most people probably aren't using antique stuff to do leather work and things. Um,
Right. Yeah.
so
And
I
I
would
don't think
definitely
I think people don't use stilettos today the same way that they did historically. It's my opinion.
that's an I mean, well, there's another thing we could go through, but I also feel like, and I don't have the other one with me, but just based on like looking, like so you got this like little piece here.
I
I
love
feel
that
like
one.
balls are shorter, smaller than stilettos tend to be. At least the antique ones that I have paid attention to. And paying attention to them is somewhat new for me. I only recently, Steph was with me. It was that Penn Dry Goods story, you guys, where we were digging through the bins and stuff.
Yeah.
It was just
Yeah.
an all slash stiletto party.
It
Um,
was. She had so many.
and they were gorgeous.
Yeah,
It
and
was they were
they're
hard.
tiny, they're kind of cute. They're not terribly expensive.
No.
And the ones that she had were made out of, different types of precious stuff. So like mother of
Mm-hmm.
pearl, like the one you're holding up,
Mm-hmm.
and sterling silver, and but
Mm-hmm.
they're tiny, so it's not something that's gonna be super super expensive.
So
And I
Janet
think they're
says,
also easily lost. So
yeah. Janet says alls tend to have a heavier handle so you can push through the fabric and leather. So it's funny, Janet. I feel like like more modern alls, definitely. But I feel like when you're dealing with like the bone ones, they don't tend to have a separate handle. They kind of just,
um
you got something in your hand?
yeah, I'm looking. So I'm pretty sure this is a two-parter.
Yeah, it looks.
This I think is wood. I'm pretty sure this is wood. It
Hmm.
definitely has a seam here that looks like it's
Hmm.
kind of connected,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I can pull up the picture of it that
I was
is
gonna say,
closer.
is it glued or is
Um,
it screw? Does it screw together?
it doesn't screw together. It's
Okay.
definitely glued or like pressure fitted.
Mm-hmm.
But like I would say this is an all,
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but you know, I mislaid it because I had it out the other day. I actually showed it on my stream when I did a I did a little what's in this sewing basket kind of thing on my stream, and I found one and I have a bunch of them, and it's a sewing awl.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think alls have that possibility too, that they have the metal ones might have an eye in here like a needle, and you use the awl to poke the hole in leather, and you use a needle on the other side to do lacing in leather. Um, and so I think that's one difference too, in my opinion, just from what
And
I
then,
found.
well, and then like in Dawn's book here, if we're talking about like the smaller bone awls, like obviously like we're not
Hmm.
dealing with a separate handle. And obviously like most of them, except for like this one here, are relatively short. And when I think like archaeologically speaking, when we get in the very, very early days of like garment construction and they're
Hmm.
using awls to just make holes in fabric,
Hmm.
to
Yeah, I would say, I mean,
sew in a way.
it's a shot in the dark, but I would say, like, archaeologically speaking, awls and stilettos probably predate needles,
Oh
because
yes.
if you're
Oh yes,
just
they do. Of course they do.
jabbing holes and
Yeah.
stuff, like you're saying, into leather
Mhm.
and other garmenty
Nope, it's not a
things.
shot in the dark. You're absolutely right. They
Yeah,
definitely
yeah,
do.
they're just poking a hole, and then eventually they're like, I could make this sharp, pokey thing have the thread on it, or the string, or the
Hmm.
fiber, or whatever.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Um,
so with that foundation laid of that discussion, um, I feel like to a certain extent, most things we might be talking about will just kind of be considered like all slash stilettos instead
mhm.
of the forever argument of that's it all. That's because I have one particular thing that I listed on my site quite some time ago. That's very cool. You have seen it. You probably just don't remember. It's bone and like ebony, and it is kind of it's longer, so it's like, is it a stiletto? But like, oh my god, it's an awl. This day and age, if we're gonna use them, we're probably using them as stilettos. So, and
Well,
I
I mean, okay, let's talk about that real quick before we look at pictures. So today, and the one that Janet sent us, and let me just show that real quick.
yeah, that's very interesting.
Yeah, I actually have one like this. I totally forgot. It's my mom gave it to me as a stocking stuffer one time. Mine's got a purple handle, but I think the same thing. No idea, no brand, like who knows? But it's this two-fingered situation.
Yeah, it
And
looks like an alien's like an intended stiletto.
yeah, but it's wonderful because it's really good for, if you're sewing and you need to get in there with something pointy. But also if you're ironing something and you have to get down like to a little point, you can use that thing
Oh,
and it
yeah,
kind
and you
of,
gotta like
yeah, it's kind of got
hold
those like
stuff.
two prongs. So yeah, this is a very cool one. I forgot I had one. I have no idea where it is. But yeah, I like that one, and that one's very cool. It's a cool invention.
I
Um
don't know that I've ever, well, I might have seen one, but maybe I just didn't notice it.
it's kind of like I think you find those like at your local quilt shop. They have things like that by the register, and you're like,
I,
"What is this? I
and
never knew I needed this."
I'm such a sucker for that
Oh,
stuff.
I am too. I am too. And it ends up being like the best thing ever, right? Um, so like what do you use a stiletto for today?
I mean, are you asking like there's a right answer or just my
No,
answer?
I'm just asking you. Yeah, what do you use a
Um,
stiletto for?
when well, when I'm piecing, especially if I'm piecing triangles and I want to help the little nugget, get through my machine, because since I've got a Brittany, like the feed dogs are further apart now than they used to be, on, antique machines or even a lot of vintage machines. So, if your machine now eats triangle tips, I use it to try to help. Or the other thing I can't stand, this thing that sucks about Berninas. I mean, I love them, but you cannot adjust the pressure of your pressure foot.
Mm.
It's like the only
Future
machine that you can't. Like,
future Bernina ambassador over here.
oh God, it's like it. And I'm using a Bernina, I'm using a 1090S. That's the most modern machine that I have. So it's, Bernina from like what, the late 90s. Um, so there are many times when like if I'm sewing something, maybe like a hefty, I'm going over like a heftier, seam allowance, like a couple of blocks coming through, I will have the problem where like things just go "Rah." So like I have to kind of go slow and help guide and like literally use the stiletto to go under the foot to help that thing
Yeah.
not get
Because your
weird.
fingers just cannot get in there. And if you can get them in there, danger, Will Robinson, the needle's gonna get you.
Yeah, I don't want to
Right.
get my finger in there. Not at all.
Yeah.
Sometimes if I'm like piecing and like my finger just happens to like touch the foot, it freaks me out. So I don't
Yeah.
even I don't even get like the most minuscule close to like letting that happen.
Yeah. So I would say probably most people that's what they're using a stiletto for is
Mhm.
getting in there on a sewing machine. I mean that's just what I hear from people. And ironing. If you're doing something like really, really very tiny and you have to kind of get in there and press a little point or
I've
something.
never used them for ironing, but
Um,
I think I will.
Yeah, yeah. If you do, especially garment construction, if you're doing like points on collars, you really have to like, get that in there and really iron it. And it's very helpful to have something sharp and pointy to do that. And also some modern stilettos and I think it's Annie's. Um, they do I mean Annie is a person, but the patterns are like cool, like little bags, handbags, cases, stuff like that. And she makes tons and tons of patterns, and I think she sells a lot of the pieces that go into making them. But she has a stiletto that the needle part of it, it's like a wooden handle, and the needle part of it is it's like got a like a texture to it, kind of like a it's textury. I don't know how else to describe it. It's like if you run your hand over like cast iron, how it's kind of got like a little
Okay.
texture.
Okay.
It's a little bit like that. I mean, it's still a needle, but it's got a little texture so that you can actually use it even to stuff. Like if you had to just stuff a little bit
Oh
of,
yeah. My
like you
mom
got a
used to
little
use
bit
a
of something.
crochet hook.
Yeah, you got a little bit of something poking out, or you need to stuff a little bit of stuffing into something just, and
Robin
it's
asked if
got
what
enough.
you're describing is etching.
I don't know if it's yeah, I'm not sure if it's etching or not. I don't know if it's somehow that it's probably like a sandblasting or something that they
I was
just
gonna say it, like I almost immediately what I pictured when you described was Teflon.
kind of like, yeah, it almost looks like that, but you run your finger over it and it's definitely got this sort of like it's been sandblasted or something. I don't know. Like
Hmm.
that's kind of the feeling of it. But I like that because a lot of times if you're just using something pointy, if it's slick, it slides right through. It's easy to like ah. So anyway. Well, let's look at some old items. Um, and then I'll also look at the the thing that I found because like this is why I posit we use them differently today than we used to
Hmm.
because of this historical thing I read. Um so this is the thing that I think is actually a stiletto, maybe, perhaps. It says Stanley though.
Like Stanley Cup?
I no, I'm thinking Stanley like tools, thermoses. I don't know, but it's pointy. It's plastic. It's pointy on this end, and it's kind of like a little tapered little tab on this end. And
Hmm.
so that kind of reminds me of like something you could finger press with, and then the other end of it you could use like a stiletto.
Yeah.
I don't know. I found it in a sewing kit, so this is my best guess that's what this is. It could be anything though. This could be like a sewing machine tool. I don't know. It just if I had this item, I would use it as a stiletto.
I definitely like
So,
the end piece for finger pressing
yeah, and yeah,
or like
yeah.
scoring,
Yeah, it's almost like that. I mean, it's a plastic, so I don't think you could put a lot of pressure on it. It's a
Well, I
little
was
bit
gonna
of
say
a
what kind of plastic? Because like
yeah, I mean, it's kind of it's a little flexible, but I mean, it's firm. It's kind of like that Tupperware flexible.
hmm.
Um, but I mean, I think this definitely could be used, particularly how we use a stiletto today, like in the sewing machine. I would maybe not put this near an iron,
Hey,
but
vintage Tupperware is like indestructible. That stuff's so
seriously.
awesome.
Yeah. But anyway, if anybody knows that this is not a stiletto, but knows what it is, please let me know.
Someone's gonna be
Um,
like, it's for stirring drinks in your Stanley Cup thermos.
who knows? Um, now the next thing is what I held up is an awl. Um, but like I said, I think, this appears to be wood to me, and you see there's that little seam there that I think it's
Hmm.
glued in, and then this
Hmm.
part is bone. Um, but yeah, I feel like this is a lot of times what you see. It's like, is it a stiletto or is it an awl? It's kind of both. um, but it's got a pretty sharp tip, and then it's got this wider. You could really like poke a big hole.
So I feel like this is what I would picture like an awl to be, but I would absolutely use this as a stiletto.
Yeah, and historically, for the historical purposes of a stiletto, I think this totally works.
Hmm.
And then this is plastic. Does anybody recognize what it is?
Um,
Maybe your
does it
grandmother.
go in that game?
No, it's actually a bobby pin, a curler pin. Um,
Well,
when
really?
my grandmother would do her hair sets, yeah, you roll them up and then you just stick that through. So
Janet
it's
thought it
not a
was an
bobby pin.
olive holder.
Yeah, 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 like a little cocktail
Yeah,
thing.
for your
But no,
martini.
yeah, yeah. I mean, this could definitely be a lot of things, but I'm 90% sure it's a bobby pin. My grandmother had pink ones, and it is anybody who had a grandmother that did the roller sets before Sunday, every week, she would roll them up and then you take one of these and you just jab it in there to hold it. And then once you have a whole head full of them, they'd kind of just lay against each other. But what a perfect thing to use as a stiletto if you needed like urgently a little pointy thing to, you know.
I would absolutely use that as stiletto, especially because
Yeah.
like it might help if you're going to use it with your ironing, but if it's got any leftover Aquanet on it.
There you go. Um, so I guess a lot of what I thought about as we were looking at this is like I knew I did not have a lot of stilettos other than a few modern ones.
Mhm.
But you know, I was like, what do we you know, if you don't have a stiletto today, we grab any old thing, a
Yep.
chopstick, barbecue skewer, a toothpick. Like there's so many things you could use as a stiletto. Um, but what, you know, historically what they were using stilettos for was to poke holes, to spread the fibers of fabric out so that they don't, because like if you use scissors or something sharp to poke a hole, you're breaking fibers, right?
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
if the stiletto, in theory, can go through there and poke a hole and just push the fibers aside so you don't get, you know, it doesn't break the threads and fray. So that would be for buttonholes, any kind of just little like a drawstring hole or anything like that. And I also, which I will read to you guys, the thing I found today is that they used it to pull out basting stitches, and it makes sense because it's not like a
Oh,
needle, you know, and it's like you're maybe not as likely to snag fabric the way you would with a needle, but you could
hmm.
just, I mean, think about basting stitches, and you could just kind of grab them with a stiletto or an awl and just yank them out.
That's true.
Particularly if you reused your thread. Like today, I'm just like clip, 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 yank. But if you wanted to reuse your thread, this would probably be a great way to just like whip it out of there, you know?
Yeah. I didn't even I that is new information to me
Hmm.
because for
Yeah.
one,
And
I
I,
definitely
again,
don't do
this
any
is,
garment sewing.
well, this is coming from archaeologists. So, um, but yeah, you know, and like I said, I mean, we don't, you know, you're not making buttonholes and poking holes for casings and stuff like that anymore so much. I mean, there's some garment sewing, like fine heirloom stuff that you might.
Hmm.
Another thing that they used these for was in dainty needlework, like I think it's at Hardanger, where you literally tie off threads and then clip threads out, and you kind of get those really lacy looking little you know, rows in a piece of fabric.
Hmm.
They'd use the stilettos for that too.
Oh,
And then you kind of separate, and then you could whip those little rows of thread together, those little threads.
is this coming from the article or whatever it was that you found?
No, that was I think it was something else I read
Oh.
that they used stilettos for that. Um, I think it was Piecework magazine. I saw something about that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, so let us look at, can we look at your Insta, or did you want to go to one of the other, did you want to do your Insta?
I thought potentially that you were going to show us the article thing that you found.
Oh, okay. I will do that. Let me stop sharing for a second and find it. Mhm.
I can't get over like how my hair is trying to do all these little like curly do things because like it's all like hot and humid and stuff. You should see me before I try to like plaster them to my head. I look like Krusty the Clown. Like,
Okay, let me share my screen again. So we are looking at, this is I'm not sure why this is on the Jefferson Patterson Park Museum page.
okay.
They are a wonderful park, but the thing we're going to look at was not from that park, which is in Southern Maryland. It was actually from Baltimore City. So, but it's kind of funny because this is kind of um all of this historical and park stuff is kind of a offshoot of what my, you know, my husband knows a lot of the people that do this stuff. So it's
Mm-hmm.
always funny when I find something like really cool. So
Mm-hmm.
this is a picture of the stiletto. And I mean, it looks like ones we've seen, right? Like, you know, you can look online and find something like this. Anyway, so what she says, I'll go ahead and read this. It's pretty short. She says this modest little artifact was hidden along with several stoneware marbles under a set of outdoor steps in downtown Baltimore sometime in the last quarter of the 19th century. There it remained unnoticed and forgotten until archaeologists discovered this little cache of artifacts when they were conducting excavations in advance of the building of the Baltimore City Life Museum. Measuring 2.5 inches in length, so teeny tiny. This lathe turned bone sewing stiletto, or awl, see, like they can't even decide, was used to punch holes through coarse materials like leather, felt, or canvas, or to force open the weave of a fabric to create an eyelet or buttonhole. Because the weave of the fabric remained uncut, it resisted tearing. A stiletto was also useful for removing basting stitches. Sewing stilettos were an important component of needlework and sewing boxes in the Victorian period. And I think that you said the ones you have in your collection all come from boxes, right? They're not
Yeah.
individual items. Examples of stilettos identical to this Baltimore artifact date circa 1880 to 1900. This dating coincides perfectly with the blue and brown glazed stoneware marbles placed with the awl under the steps of the house at 26 Albemarle Street. Benningtons, as these marbles are proudly called, are not seen in U.S. archaeological assemblages until about 1890. So that's cool how they could date this by the other things that were with it. Why these artifacts were hidden together under the steps remains a mystery. In 1876, the property with its 3-story brick house was acquired by this Theodore Heinrich Leidensack. The house remained in his ownership until 1909 when he transferred the property to, it looks like, some relatives. And perhaps they were hidden under the steps by children in the household. And that was my immediate guess. As soon as you heard there's marbles that went with this thing, I was like, the children stole it. But this picture that they provide of a sewing case that would have had a similar stiletto in it looks so interesting to me. I'm like, what is this thing? Right? Like, I would love to know what some of those things are. And I
think
can't get
that isn't, I feel like, isn't that kind of similar to like a third hand?
Maybe. I'm not sure. There's just a bunch of little doodads in here, and a couple of them.
You know what that is? That's the thing to clip your hair out of your face when you're like leaning over.
Well, I was like, is it a little curling iron? Like, what is that?
Yeah,
here,
it's when your hair is just being like ridiculous and you're bent over your canvas and your needlework.
All right. Well, let me share. Where did it go? I will share this link so that if you want to look at these, I think I have to be able to get to the
okay. So if you're done sharing, then I guess I'll start sharing. Yeah. So many buttons to push and things to do, and stuff and things. Okay. Look, it's like Inception.
It is.
We move stuff over. Okay, so because I don't actually like have a lot of stiletto-ness in my personal collection, like I had mentioned, unless it's part of some kind of a set of things, which Steph and I had this conversation about some other stuff before, and we kind of, the embroidery scissors, we kind of agreed that like looking at like sewing sets and things should be its own kind of little thing. So we weren't going to take stuff out to look at stuff. So I, of course, went to the interwebs and was like, well, even if I don't have a lot in my collection, that doesn't mean we can't look at stuff. And just started doing some searching and found some cute stuff. So like what I had mentioned before about how often things tend to be on the shorter side, in my experience, like this little mother of pearl doodad here is I believe 2¼ inches long. And then some of the other, like sterling silver ones, I feel like the longest one was around like 3½ so like they're longer but not by a ton. And then I saw this one and was like, wow, that one, not only does it look pretty long, like the handle itself looks pretty long, but the tip itself, not only is it long, it looks quite thin. And this is clearly an exciting one because 10 people are watching it. I am not one of them.
It's comparatively huge.
Comparatively huge
compared to all these other loons, but I love that handle, the art deco.
Yeah, the handle I thought was really cool. It kind of reminded me of a clawfoot tub. It's bottom right here.
Oh yeah.
And it's, of course, it's got like this like lovely patina on it, which some people hate that. I actually really like it.
Yeah, I like it too. Yeah, it's delicate. You know, it's got a
Oh, and
delicate
it's
look about
marked.
it.
I didn't see that it was marked. We'll have to like read. It looks, oh wait, it says signed. We'll have to read in the description what that says. Although it's like I would have tried to clean the tip a bit. Jeez. Like, but like look how long that is. Like it's not like we'll have to look and actually see what the measurements are, but like that is long. Let's see here. Where is, there we go. Okay. Okay, this one's really long. It's 5 3/8 long. The handle alone is 2 3/4. So the handle alone is longer than the mother of pearl, like all. Let's see. The handle's marked with sterling. It also has a maker's mark that they couldn't make out. Looks like something like CB and R. The magnet sticks to the all part. So this person is saying that, so they're calling it antique sterling silver all stiletto punch sewing tool. And they're calling the handle the stiletto and the needle part and all. Okay. So
Okay.
it's got some tarnish and things. That's just generic stuff. But yeah, that's a long sucker. Like, and so you can see here, like this some other pretty long looking ones. I saw quite a few with like this gadget attached to it. I almost feel like it's like punch needle. Yeah, it says punch sewing tool. Let's investigate.
Yeah. Oh, huh. I don't.
It's still claiming to be an all stiletto. Yeah, but that tip looks. Ooh, look at that.
That's very pretty. Reminds me of silverware.
Kind of, but
And I think this kind of,
this kind of stuff is.
Yeah, this kind of stuff is the question I had, I think, for Dawn when we were looking at things was like, you know, were the silverware manufacturers also making these kind of things? You know, because they like the handles are all very similar. Yeah, I don't know what is that to control the depth that you punch. I don't know. I don't know what that
might make sense. I don't know. Does anyone have any ideas in the chat? Someone might know.
Yeah, no.
Uh-oh, someone's got it in their cart. I don't know. Oh, it says sterling. I'm like, what is that? Is it corn? Like, yeah, it was so like what we were seeing was it in his hand. I guess that would control the depth. That would make sense. Patented.
Oh, your grandmother made you a beautiful quilt.
Say what?
So Hannah just posted, I just stopped by to say that my great grandmother made me a beautiful quilt as a wedding gift. I know how much hard work and love goes into each one. Oh, yes. Thank you for coming by. We hope you'll stick around. We don't necessarily teach quilting, but we talk a lot about it. So
okay, so let's get into Floral Webster embossed floral pattern handle, pointed end in the metal or non-sterling silver. It measures 5.5 inches long. Metal attachment. That's all it says. Metal attachment. I don't know. I think your theory seems pretty good. Unless someone actually knows the answer.
Yeah, I don't know what else that would be for. I don't know.
Like I said, I immediately thought like looked like a punch, you know, a more modern punch needle kind of tool. Like obviously it's not that, but
yeah.
So moving on. So I found this, which don't get all excited, it's a reproduction. When I first saw it, I was like, wow, look at that price. But it's a reproduction. Not to say that stilettos are really expensive, depending on what you're getting, but
well, you know, I mean, it's the precious metal, the sterling silver, and like the mother pearl and anything like that that makes it like expensive, you know.
But yeah, if someone, although you also have people too that like are afraid to use the pieces in their collection. So if you wanted something that looks like it belongs in your collection, you know, you can get this to look all old and stuff, which I mean, obviously it's not in my hand, but it's pretty convincing.
Yeah, I think so.
It
I
even
think it
has
looks
a
pretty
place
good.
to attach it to something.
Like a chatelaine or something. Although I would want a cover on it because I mean,
Maybe it comes with one. It might come with like one of those plastic ones, you know, that you put on scissors.
yeah, maybe.
Because yeah, you could do some stabbing.
Yeah, you know, and it's funny. I don't know why. I always think of crazy things like this, but you know, situational awareness. You could also keep a stiletto in your pocket in case you need to fight your way out. Ah!
Mm-hmm.
I mean, women supposedly they had the hat pins and they would use them if they had to.
Oh
I feel like
yeah.
the stiletto is the same kind of thing.
So let's see. Yeah, Victorian style. Um, and this one's made out of pewter. So let's see. This person's saying a stiletto, also known as a tailor's awl, is used for making eyelet holes in needlework, sewing, and leatherwork. It can be used to guide fabric under a sewing machine, pick seams that are too small for a seam ripper, or turn applique edges.
Yeah, it's useful as well. And because you know, I happen to be doing a needle turn project right now. It's sometimes it's pesky. You're trying to turn the edge with the needle and the needle just keeps wanting to like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you need something a little bit beefier. And yeah, I could see a stiletto would be useful for that.
Well, and
My modern stiletto that has like the texture on it would be useful for that.
this person's review says, yeah, pokey tool for sewing and paper, perfect for my chatelaine. Left. So there you go.
I love that. I
Don't
love
forget
that.
that these links will be in the description later. And then I found this. So this is a Singer modern stiletto all combo. But
Okay.
how they're doing
Oh,
this
interesting.
stiletto piece.
Oh, okay. The pointy part has that texture like mine does.
Oh,
See
okay.
that? It's like it's
Let's see if there's a so look at how they're like using it on the machine here. They're calling that the
no,
stiletto. And it's like
that is so funny. You know what that you know this is a clay tool.
oh
It's like virtually the same thing.
yeah. So I was like, wow, that looks like something else that I would have never called a stiletto.
Yeah, it's this
I
is a
almost
silicone
like
tipped clay
I would
tool.
almost call this like a sewing hoof.
I like a hoof. Yeah, it's a hoof.
But doesn't it kind of look like that? And like the way that like she's using it, like don't get me wrong, like it's getting the job done.
Yeah. I mean, yes, and because sometimes you want to push it, and the pointy part can go through the fabric. Yeah, I
And
like
then
that.
here
I might
we
have to
are
snag one of
because
those for myself.
on any given day, you could need to make holes in your leather jacket, you know,
Indeed.
while you're at the grocery store. Um, so yeah, I thought that this was
That's a handy
interesting.
little thing. Yeah. I kind of like this one.
Well, there you go, $9. And the pointy thing has a cap.
Exactly. So you don't stab yourself.
I do have to say, like, I like one of the things I don't like about antique stilettos is off the handle is often gorgeous, but it's so dainty that I feel like in terms of, and obviously they were made for a different time period and different kinds of tools and machines that we're using, but like if it was one of those scenarios where you're going to use your antique in your sewing today, I'd be afraid sometimes of maybe bending it or something.
Hmm.
Like this is a hefty handle
Hmm.
on
No, for sure.
that poking device. And even on the it's called a stick it and a push it. Look at push it, stick it.
Yeah.
So it almost sounds like all stiletto bop it, you know. Bop it. Woo!
Yeah.
Push it.
Stick it and push
Stick
it. But
it.
like stab it and shove it. Janet said, I use the eraser end of a pencil to turn a spaghetti strap. Yeah, that is also a handy thing. Because
I think
yeah,
my
the erasers.
I feel like my mom had a tool like this, and actually this looks like it has an eraser type texture to it.
Mm-hmm.
It looks
Yeah, I
rubber.
think it's probably just like that's it's like a silicone
Yeah.
thing. And it's so funny.
Um,
I looked at this thing while I was glancing around to see if one of my modern stilettos was in. I have some tool cups here, cups full of tools. And I looked at this thing and I
really?
went, I would totally use this as a stiletto.
Yeah, so I feel like stilettos at the end of the day just become super make do kind of things.
Yes, yes. And I mean it's grand to have these things that are made specifically for this, but it's also stilettos unless I mean, if you are making holes specifically, like again, I used to do historical costuming and it is very useful to have a legit stiletto for making eyelet holes and things. But, if you're just pushing something through your sewing machine, there really are a lot of options. Double pointed knitting needle.
Yep. Well, and
Regular knitting needle.
Janet likes our names for these ones better.
Stab it and push it. Stab it and shove it.
Sunday totally has a bop it downstairs. Half of me is like, I should so get that.
Oh my gosh.
It's a Darth Vader bop it.
Oh my goodness. This is the Pinterest board, isn't it?
Yeah. Did you come across this too?
I did not. And but I saw you had a link to it on the our page and I was like, "Oh no." I get in trouble. Pinterest is like it can like just disappear a whole day for me.
So here's the thing. So when I was looking for like eBay listings and things like that, weird things were coming up that weren't at all related to the
Hmm.
topic that we were looking at. And they were a little more X-rated.
Oh, see, I
And
had a lot of very, very saucy tall shoes come up when I looked. And so I
even,
had to keep saying sewing, not shoes.
well, you know what's weird too is at one point, like because I kept putting an antique, that helps a lot. Antique, sterling. I was getting swords.
Oh,
Like I got like this
interesting.
whole
Interesting.
page of swords up. But so eventually I did like some reverse image searches, and then when I was like searching like, like some comps and things,
Mhm.
um,
Look
this
at those
page
little
came up.
hands. All
Yeah.
the little hands. Now, are those necessarily, I don't think those are stilettos. Those appear to be,
I wonder if those are those like toppers, like when the when you get like a crochet set and you can change out the hook and
yeah,
make
I
like a handle
know.
topper.
So I'm trying to see, like, I don't, all of those just look like little hands. I know that there are those, um, in cases
Well,
where,
this one right here might
religious,
be an all.
yeah, religious things where they're reading the Torah, they sometimes will have a little pointer that's
Oh, the
like,
little
it's
finger.
a little finger. Yeah, that's what those look like to me, but I don't think that's what those are either. Unless that one looks like it's kind of pointing, but
Yeah, like
those are
something
very
around here.
interesting. I love this carved stuff, like whatever it is. It's so cool.
I love carved stuff. Yeah, like see, like these aren't necessarily stilettos, but like I would use them as such.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
I like this display right
Yeah,
here.
that's very cool.
Or like putting them in like a flower frog or something like that. Look at this.
Oh my gosh, that's the mother load.
Yep. Yep. Huh.
Oh
Well, let
wow.
me. Wow. Look at that. That's considered zoomed in. Like
Now
that's
there's a mother of pearl one there at the top with the
yep.
silver.
So, oh
Mhm.
no, that looks like the same thing that I have. See this little hook on the end?
Oh, is it one of those minuscule, microscopic,
Yep.
barely there hooks? Look at that itty bitty one that it looks like it's a cap on a string at the very top.
The very top. Oh, this.
Yeah, don't you
So,
think those go together?
I don't think. Well, I think the string goes on it, but I'm wondering again if that's one of those things where it's the cap to like a.
Well, that's something that itty bitty thing that's to the left of it is that the cap too.
You think these go together?
Well, maybe.
I don't know. This is interesting. This one here. So that's like that two, and I'm wondering potentially like like your wood, like is that similar to the one that I have that's like an ebony with
Mm-hmm.
the with the wood on it? This one's interesting, this little carving in the side here. And one thing that I like about it, and I have, one of the ones I have that's the handle of it's like square and it's all bone. Probably because of whatever bone they were using, maybe a rib or something. It's got like a curve to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that kind of working with that because you can tell like some of these also kind of some have like this one here has like a natural curve to it. I like leaning into that and kind of using that for whatever benefit. This is interesting here. This one's probably like an all stiletto / bodkin.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. That one I wondered if it's with those holes that it might be a bodkin.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, you see how like tiny all of these are. And I'm assuming, again, I'm gonna use this is the only one I have with me because like, did I think to put them next to me? Of course not. They would have to be small because if you're gonna poke a hole, you need that oomph of your, where if it's super long, you're like, oh, let me poke that hole. Like, like you need to like, oh, like ladies take note if you ever need to stab anybody with
It's a great investment, even if you don't sew.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see what else is on.
And this is another one of those things like when we looked at the 6-inch rulers where I was kind of like, yeah, I mean, that'll be fun to look at, like stilettos. But oh my gosh, look at the absolute variety these things come in.
You're like, look at these. Let me like look at the image, please. Okay. Ooh, it got so big. Wow, that's it, huh? These might be so this says wood laying tools. Because I've seen some others that were long like this and they were calling them the hairpins.
Hair sticks.
Yeah.
And that shawl pin there too.
So it's one of those like, is it that? Is it not? Is it this? Although these look like they might be a little more modern and this person's selling a set of 6 for but like this one right here is really cool.
Yeah.
I could totally
those also have a very cocktail skewer vibe.
You could put olives on it. We should like totally have a party where like everyone's cocktail like has like a stiletto, like an antique stiletto with like olives and
stiletto are all in your drink.
Yeah, like stir your drink with your antique bone stiletto.
Or this weird plastic one that may or may not be a stiletto at all.
Yeah, no one knows how to party like we do. Look at this one.
Oh my goodness, that is amazing. The mother of pearl stuff just gets me every time. It is so beautiful.
And this one's claiming 1820. So let's
Oh, pricking paper patterns. You know what? That's probably another thing.
What
prickings? That they've listed in there doing prickings.
Oh.
Transferring designs. I could see using a stiletto for that. A needle would also work, but a stiletto would probably be easier in your hand if it had a nice point.
Yeah, like this thing. Oh my goodness, look at that handle. French gilded.
Yeah, and I could see
$50 and $100 words.
Yes. Well, I could see that in one of those fancy French sewing boxes that has all the little doodads and
oh yeah.
They're impossible to find complete today. If you find one, it's like a treasure.
Wow, that picture is terrible.
That's a bummer. That's a tiny picture because this
but that is very cool. It's like, what it kind of reminds me of is like those quilt pineapple blocks. Like where it actually like looks like the pineapple.
Right.
And then this one was very
yeah, that one's got a love token. Aw.
Yeah, that's very cool.
I am absolutely fascinated by these kind of things, love tokens. That just the interesting things
that are inscribed. Like and apparently this one's eBay UK. Again, I will I will make sure, we'll make sure that these links are in the description so you can go on your own deep dive if you want to. The last thing I've got on here is stuff that if you watched the recent unboxing that I did, you will have seen. I have officially put them up. This is an old one. This is the one I was talking about. Remember this one?
Yeah.
These are things that are currently listed on my site, JA Antiques and Vintage on Instagram. If that interests you, this I got some time ago, and it was so cool. Again, it was that argument. Isn't it all? Is it a stiletto? Because it's a little longer than technically an awl tends to be. And
Wasn't this the one we were trying to figure out, like, did it unscrew and it doesn't?
it does unscrew. I'm gonna get to that photo
But it's not hollow, like it's not a needle
hollow
case or anything like that.
No, we thought potentially it could be a needle case inside, and it's not. It does, yeah, it is all put together by screwing, but so you can
Which is
see,
fascinating.
yeah, you can see all the parts back there, but this is not hollow. I thought that kind of rib cage that goes around it is wow. To carve that out of bone.
That's interesting. I don't think I've seen it all apart like that. I think I only when you had it
Does
when I
that
saw
mean
you
that you're not looking at my site when I list things?
I think we all know that Cake does not do a good job with social media. I try.
So yeah, all the white pieces here are bone. And then it was actually Dawn that was feeling that's ebony, yeah. So very interesting piece. And I currently have it on sale. I'll be sad to see that one go because it's just like you literally carved like a rib cage for it that all fits perfect and snug and beautifully. It does have a little spot here that's missing some.
Yeah, it's a really interesting piece though.
It is very
it's an interesting piece.
Very interesting. And then so this guy, when you first saw this, you saw it fresh out of the bag. So it was very dirty. I'm about to show you how dirty. I did clean it. Like I love the detail on this, like down to the fingernails.
Yeah, the little fingers.
Oh my God.
So cute.
So it was really hard after I cleaned this to get good pictures of it because of the mother of pearl was blinding me.
Yeah.
Mother
of pearl does not photograph well.
Oh, it's hard. So these are in artificial light. Because it's the only way if I took a picture the other way, I lost the detail, which I'm going to show you that too. This is how dirty it was. It was dirty, but
it has character. It has character.
But because of that dirt, you can really see the detail that I then cleaned. It was also like, for that dramatic, like before and after. Ta-da! And then this was me trying to photograph it right after in natural light. And I was like, well, that's not going to work, but you can see how stunning it is.
Yeah. It's too pretty to be photographed.
Yeah. I'm just going to have people doing like drive-bys at my house to be like, can we see it? Can we see it? Just show us. Come on, bring it outside. I'm going to be running in and out. Like, here it is. And keep in mind, like the girl's tiny.
Yeah, it is. It is.
It's
like a little thing, and
it's the size of my pinky finger.
And if I remember correctly, Dawn said that those fully mother of pearl items are, I mean, they're rarer because they break so easily.
Yeah.
Whereas bone is stronger.
Yeah. Bone is far stronger. Yeah. It's a pretty gal. And then we have this lovely lady. This one is also marked. I love the handle on it. And I love how it's got this blank space on the front for engraving. I know some people do like to do that to their stuff. And then here you've got F&B and sterling. But that handle, man. But this is one thing I was talking about where like if you are someone that likes to use your antique tools, that's a pretty dainty handle. I wouldn't feel as, confident. actually using is if I had like a big honker like yours with the wood, the big handle.
Mhm.
I'd feel far more confident, like pressing on something with that than I would
Mhm.
necessarily on this. Or like if you were using it in your machine, and you know how sometimes you're like guiding something through your machine and like there might be a minute where your feed dogs catch what you're using, and you might have like a chonk moment, like nothing happens but it startles you. I've had that happen. And I would be like, oh my God, did I bend it?
Yeah. That's what the barbecue skewer is for.
I'm actually surprised that doesn't just like shred. It's not that those are very strong. And then we have this cutie. This one's bone. Very simple, um, but sturdy. And then this is one of those ones where we lean into that curve, that
Mhm.
natural
Yeah.
curvature. And you remember I had said that I thought potentially that this matched another piece that I had gotten previously. It does not. It's they're both square, but it's a different kind of carving. I thought potentially they were
Yeah,
similar.
I like the carving, and that was just sort of simple and
Yeah, yeah. Well, and the fact that it's kept, like, I feel like this one, the pointy part there, the end is the thickest really that we've seen of these. You'd probably you wouldn't be making dainty little holes with that. You probably want, like, I want the big honker.
yeah, well, the ones with the very thin, dainty ones, I really do think are for that like really fine hand sewing, where you do need to spread threads apart to do different types of cut work and stuff like that.
mhm,
Whereas these chunkier bone,
are
like
more
more like Awls,
utilitarian.
are the poking holes in leather kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really like this one. Like, just has this interesting curve
That
to
is
it.
interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that
Yeah,
just made
they
me
really
think
do
like, oh,
curve
is
it.
that like a rib bone or something where the bone itself is curved and they just decided I'm
Yeah,
going with it.
I know they typically used for tools, it was typically the shin bones that they used. I recently read something about it. Um, but I mean that doesn't mean that if somebody like, on a farm who had access to, animal slaughter and could get the bones, that they wouldn't use a different bone. Um, but I'm trying to remember, it had something to do with like it was at some point when they had fewer, like they were using the bones for a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so I want to say like the industry at the time was like going with younger animals for
Okay.
meat, and their bones are not as dense and hard as the older animals. And so the tools were not as good. Um, they were finding that the tools they would um, sort of shatter more
Mm-hmm.
easily than the older, the older bone ones from an older animal. So,
Hmm.
but I
I
have to say, like, I mean, a lot of respect for the fact that of the antiquity, they were using all the parts, right? If they were going to slaughter an animal for food, they also utilized its bones to make tools and, stuff like that. So,
Mhm. Now we're using things like wishbones to make thimble holders. So doing the important work.
yes, it is in my project. It's in my project pile.
And just so you guys know, she has more than one because someone may have been like, hey, you need to do this more than once.
Somebody had multiple turkeys at Thanksgiving.
Well, it was also, well, for me, it was also just the fact of like, oh my God, what if you're working on it and it breaks?
Well,
Like
I
that
was
would be
worried about
annoying.
that. Yeah, I was worried about that with
Yeah,
the one
because
I
they can
have.
get
So
dried out and yucky. So I was just like, and I didn't you tell me you don't really like turkey very much?
I don't.
Yeah. So I was like, I love turkey. And so I was like, I'm gonna save her. Did I give you one or did I give you two?
You gave me two because I know
Okay.
you guys had two different Thanksgiving events
Mm-hmm.
days apart, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you ended up eating from two different turkeys.
Yeah, and I had them like chilling on my like windowsill. And when we were gonna go see you, Sunday was like, so are we gonna like take these to Steph now? So that they're not like, there's not just like carcass sitting on the windowsill. You can tell that we're not country folk, huh? Moving on. Moving on. Our last
The
one here.
strange things that we have in our
Never a dull
this one
moment.
right besides the mother pearl hand, which is my absolute favorite. This is my next favorite one because I think this
Yeah,
one's
this
really
is really
classy
pretty.
looking. Yeah, it's
Hmm.
real classy looking.
And we decided this is holly, right? This is like
I don't know.
a
It
holly
reminded
leaf.
me of a holly leaf at the
Yeah.
top, but
No, I think when we were talking about it before, I think like, yeah, it's like a holly leaf.
mm-hmm.
I even think like some of the motif in here reminds me, it makes me feel Christmassy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's so hard sometimes to photograph the detail because your camera like hates it.
Yeah, real life
This one's
stuff.
kind of interesting because on the back, this discoloration part, you can very clearly feel that it's like a finger indentation from use.
Oh,
I think that's really cool.
yeah, for
Some
sure.
people might
That's
not,
yeah.
but I like, it's like putting your hands in the ground at in LA there, the
Oh,
stars
yeah.
hands. Like
Uh-huh.
I'm
Yeah,
just
the
like,
handprints.
you like grip onto it and it's like, oh, like you're channeling,
Yes.
like
Well,
Gretchen who
yeah.
had this before you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's just like, I mean, having studied like I have a Mary Schaefer quilt, and I think you do too. And it's like Mary Schaefer touched this, you
Hmm.
know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
very
that's
cool.
all that's all I've got for that.
Very cool. So, are we gonna announce what our next topic is?
Go for it, darling.
So, week after next, you guys, we've decided to do da 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 tomatoes. So, your tomato pincushion in all its various forms. And I'm certain every last one of you have one if you sew. I would be surprised if you don't. Although it's okay if you don't. But still would surprise me. Because I feel like the tomato, everybody like their very first pincushion, it feels like it's the tomato. So
Hmm.
we wanted to look at those in their various
I
forms.
mean, I have so many.
Me too.
Actually, I mean, and I already have quite a few already on my page. I got a lot of different ones around, a lot of them,
I have
and
an apothecary jar that's big and it's just full of them.
I love that look when people do that. I don't have enough
Yeah,
like
I've been
personally
collecting
to
them
do that.
forever. So,
Um,
yeah.
and then if anybody wants to share any interesting tomatoes that they have,
Yeah.
you can, do that on, the Facebook or the Instagram, or you can email us at quiltnerding@gmail.com. And Robin, of course, you have a couple of tomatoes lying around. Come on now. Um, and other than that, if I could just draw your attention real quick to, if you guys could just always make sure that you're liking the streams and making sure that you subscribe. If you don't, that really helps us out to get more notice in places like the elusive algorithm and getting
Yeah.
suggested
Yeah.
to other people and stuff like that. That would be super fantastic, and we'd really appreciate that. Um, and then any other announcements? Your stream tomorrow is canceled.
Yeah, so my stream tomorrow is canceled because I'm traveling, but I will be back and for a regular stream on Monday, and then we start a new book on Tuesday night for quilt
That
nerding.
is
So
true. And potentially, we are in the planning stages. It could be super planned. It could be a little more pop-up of doing kind of like an Ask Me Anything, about us, about our life, about our stuff, about, things that you
Jill's ready to
very much.
answer questions about anything. I'm willing to tell you none of your damn business. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah,
But yes,
any
I think yeah.
saucy things. What really happens at seminar after dark, kind of, any of that stuff. But I figured we could do that while we were maybe working on our, cotton experiment, because your girlfriend is
Yes.
like really far behind, and picking the seeds out of them cotton bowls is like, whoo. I needed an excuse to do it. This sounds like a really good excuse. Also, I have a couple of auctions that might be interesting to peek at.
Mhm.
Potentially we might do that while Stephanie's away to fill up some time. It could end up that a show might need to be moved around. So if that's the case, then I've got something to put in there. Of course, you'll all be updated on
Yeah.
the Instagram
Keep
or
an
the
eye out.
Facebook. Yeah, you won't be left in the dark. Um, and those are the cool things coming.
Yeah.
Robin's like, if I tell you, I'll have to unalive you. I have a feeling Robin might be the one that's got some of the saucier questions.
Can we ask you anything?
Yeah, careful, Robin, or we might bring you on board too
This
here
might
to
be
do
a this
this.
may be a two-way AMA. I don't know.
That'd be kind of funny, like, right? Like tit for tat. Like if you ask us a juicy question, we get to ask you one. Except you guys have the anonymity of being behind a keyboard. So anywho, I guess that's gonna do it for us tonight.
Yeah, yeah. So stay cool or warm, depending on the circumstances of your current. I'm gonna say for most of it is most of us it's stay cool. So and gather up your tomatoes for week after next. Yeah, and keep an eye out for I think we'll definitely be doing some pop-ups or a pop-up because we gotta get that cotton going. And I'm ready to
Yes.
start quilting. So
Yes. Yes. All right. Have everybody have a great night. Thanks so much for joining us. Bye.
bye guys.